Good evening. Thank you for joining me tonight. I'm Siegfried, Superintendent of the Cherry Creek School District. As I thought about how to come to Unite and share this information, I reflected back over the last number of months. I've sent you videos from my dining room, sent you videos from schools, sent you many letters and newsletters. But I thought, given the gravity of this conversation and the decision that has to be made, it was best that I come to you live and have the opportunity to show you what we're planning and explain my thinking and how we got here tonight. Over the last couple of months, last weeks or so actually, I've tried to reflect on the last number of months and everything we've been through. Looking back to March 12th, making that first decision to extend our spring break, the multiple decisions after that to extend closures and ultimately close for the rest of the year, the impact of remote learning, the impact of mental health on that during that time, on students and adults that were isolated, that weren't with other people, and the tremendous impact that does have. I thought about the lost experiences of all of our kids, but specifically our seniors. And as I say that, I want to share with you that it's such an exciting week in Cherry Creek. We've been able to celebrate 5 graduations already and have 3 more to go. To watch the powerful messages our students deliver, their wonderful performances, and to watch them in their caps and gowns, have their name read, and get that experience that they missed earlier. It's just an exceptional time. I've also had a chance to reflect on the spread of the virus around our world, our country, our community, and how it impacts real people here at home and across the world. I've also watched and seen the unfolding of racial injustice across our country and seen the powerful messages that our students are offering and the changes they're going to demand in our world, and reflected on how, as a school district, we need to be better to meet the needs of all of our students moving forward. All this really comes down to, it's crystal clear. Public education is essential. Teachers are essential workers, and nothing we can do can be replicated. And so that's the importance of this conversation. And so with that, know that I take these decisions seriously. And I know the implications of the decision on how to start school and what it looks like and the length of time we could be impacted. And so know, as I make these decisions, I know I can't make everybody happy. I know I won't. And that's honestly not my job. My job is to make the right decision for the right reasons. And as I do that, know that I will be guided by science and facts with our students and our staff centered in my heart as we move forward. And although I'm sitting here alone, I have to tell you that I am thankful for and grateful for an exceptional staff. I have so many wonderful people around me who have helped guide our thinking and planning and have worked 7 hours a day, 7 hours a week. That's live TV for you. 7 hours a week, 24 hours a day, and nonstop over this summer. And I appreciate them and everything that they have done to provide this background work and ultimately help us to open schools in some manner this coming fall. So again, thank you for joining me. This time, the presentation takes about 45 minutes. If you stay for the whole thing, so grab a snack, get comfortable. If for some reason you have to log off at some point tonight, don't worry, we're going to record this and put it online so you can watch it later. We'll also put this entire presentation online so you can look at the specific pages I share tonight. So tonight, I'm going to walk you through our approach to the Cherry Creek School District, specifically looking at health guidance that we've received and that we're following, local decision-making metrics in the Cherry Creek School District, how we plan to open schools moving forward, and then final some conclusions and recommendations for our community. First, though, I want to start and share with you that none of this has happened in a vacuum. We have had numerous conversations with many people around our community. We have had 14 meetings with our Board of Education over the last 3 months. They have been instrumental to this process, providing feedback and guidance along the way, and I want to thank them for their time and work all summer long on this. We've also had a chance to have 4 all-staff meetings with all 9,000 employees, administrative meetings, parent meetings like district accountability, district special education, district pass. I've been on 2 Arapahoe County calls. I've met with my student advisory board 5 times, and I've had numerous discussions with our multiple unions. So this does not happen in a vacuum. We have been very purposeful, deliberate, and thoughtful as we've planned this approach. We also started a task force to think about and plan for the restarting of school. This work that combined teachers, classified staff, administrators, parents, students, and experts. We began our work in April. We have been doing this for 4 months now. So this is not a new exercise for us, and we did not wait to the last second. And I believe that's why we're ready to move forward with some of our thinking. So I want to thank all of the individuals, our parents, students, community members, and staff, and especially our teachers, for giving up many, many days over the summer to be a part of this conversation. So I'll start tonight with the health guidance. Last week, we received guidance from the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment and the Colorado Department of Education. And as you see on the bottom of this page, I provide a link. So anytime you want to check what I'm saying, there's a link for you. You can go see those actual documents that I'm referring to. The guidance provided by CDPHE and CDE aligns with the governor's phases of opening: stay at home, safer at home, and protect our neighbors. Each one allows for schools to look differently. So in stay at home, school looks full remote. We experienced that last semester in the spring. Safer at home allows for in-person with multiple overlapping safety strategies and with the ongoing possibility of periods of remote learning. And protect our neighbors, although there are requirements for safety measures, it's more full in person. And so that's the general guidance provided for each of these phases. Currently, Arapahoe County is in safer at home. So I want to share some of the specific guidance that underpins our programming from CDPHE and CDE. So these may be hard to read on your device. Again, you'll be able to download them and see them individually, but I'm going to read some of the sentences to you because they're important as they underpin our programming. The first bullet: younger children play a smaller role in onward transmission. The risk of transmission between young children and from young children to adults is lower than the risk of transmission to adults between or from older children and adults. This is why kindergarten and elementary schools should have different guidelines than secondary schools. Second bullet: the risk of transmission between children and from children to adults is low, and the risk of transmission from adults to adults is greater from adults with either symptomatic or asymptomatic. Third bullet: given the limited role young children likely play in transition, there is likely a minimal benefit relative to the great difficulty of physical distancing young children within a class to prevent transmission. The first bullet on this page: cohorting reduces the number of students and staff who will need to be excluded in the event of a case of COVID-19. The second bullet defines what close contact is. And close contact is not passing in a hallway, it's not passing outside. Close contact is defined as any individual who is within 6 feet of an infected person for at least 15 minutes. And the final bullet on this page: protection efforts applied collectively. For example, social distancing and masking and cohorting will provide stronger protection than any one effort in isolation. So with that rationale underlying the guidance, we can then move into some of the specific recommendations. First and foremost, we have all heard since early March about physical distancing. Physical distancing of 6 feet between student spacing reduces disease transmission risk and should be preferred. 3 feet distancing still provides substantial benefits and is acceptable. Class and cohort size are different by level because social distancing requirements are different by level. And cohorting allows us to bring students together, keep them together, so that if there is a case, it only impacts a smaller group of students. So the specific guidance by level from CDE and CDPHE. For elementary schools, I'll draw your attention to the last 2 bullets. Students in grades K through 5 do not need to meet the 6-foot distance in classrooms or other locations. Last bullet: normal class sizes may occur. For 6th through 8th, there's less specific guidance on class size because it's more focused on physical distancing and the size of the class that you have. And the same thing we see with high school. It's not about the number of students, about how many students can physically distance within a classroom. And the final guidance is really for the adults in our schools. It's about the number of people that can be together in a physical meeting. It seems like a small number when we have things like gyms and cafeterias in some of our larger schools to only have 10 adults. It seems like it's less than what other organizations and buildings are able to do, but we will adhere to it because if it's in the guidance, we believe in following it. So if I pull some of this and do a simple chart that highlights the difference between elementary school, middle school, and high school. First, from CDPHE, they explain that virus transmission is smaller, medium, and higher as kids get older. That makes sense in everything that we've heard nationally and is in this guidance. Social distancing. We talk about maybe up to 3 feet. It doesn't have to be significant in the elementary school, as you said, as I read. And then 4 to 6 feet in the middle school and high school as you start to need to spread students further apart because they're more adult-like. And then finally, class size, no limit at the elementary school, and then based on social distancing at the middle school and high school. So what I did then is I took that research, that guidance from CDPHE and CDE, and compared it to the guidance we received from the Metro Denver Partnership from Health. These are the areas they focused in. You can see the link to this document is at the bottom of the page. The Metro Denver Partnership for Health includes the Colorado Health Institute, Tri-County Health, Jefferson County Health, Broomfield Health, Denver Health, and Boulder Community Health. So as we compare the guidance from MDPH to CDPHE and CDE, we see that MASS, the Metro Denver Partnership, required them K-12. CDPHE requires them 6-12, and they're optional K-5. Cohort grouping, yes. Physical distancing greater by age. Hand washing, temperature screening symptoms, yes. Building entry exit plans, staggered and spaced. Ventilation, increased fresh air, cleaning between cohorts, and testing, making sure there's a process available. So the guidance lines up among all of the different health groups in our metro area that are our experts. So when I take that guidance and I apply it to the Cherry Creek School District, the first that you may have noticed when I talked about elementary school, middle school, and high school, the first bullet in each of those charts said continue remote instruction if best for your community, or. The difficulty is that came with no guidance, no description, no rubric. And I don't know what it means to say best for your community. Is that best for kids? Is that best for mental health? What is that best for your community? And so I took that to mean the impact of the virus. And so I will tell you that our decision will be based on science and facts. And we have developed a local decision-making metric that is not based on politics, pressure, popularity, perception, or just because others did it. And so I worked to develop this matrix so that it could be based, again, on the science and the facts of the virus. This is the literature, the research, the data that I utilized to create this matrix, and then fill it. I've had the decision-making matrix looked at and reviewed by Dr. Douglas, the Executive Director of Tri-County Health. His commentary specifically, the CCSD reopening plan represents a thoughtful approach to decision-making with a solid foundation in the best available science, alignment with public health guidance, and provision of a clear and well-thought-out plan to start the new school year and adjust course on as-needed basis as the year progresses. So as I developed the matrix, I took the qualifications that CDPHE put forward in the move from safer at home to protect your neighbors. Now, I'm not trying to say that we can move and meet all these requirements, but they're found in the phases put forth by the governor and CDPHE, and so the scientific basis applies regardless. At the bottom of this chart, you see the connection or the link to the full metrics, all 6. And on the right side, you see the actual data locations where you can fill the matrix. So metric number 3, stable or declining hospitalizations. Metric number 4, 25 or fewer new cases per 100,000 in the past 2 weeks. And also 2-week average molecular test positivity rate of less than 5%. So those are things that local communities have to be able to prove to move the entirety of the community from safer at home to protect our neighbors. So again, I'm not trying to do that. I just found a research basis of a matrix to use. And so I used that to create 4 specific areas based on Arapahoe County data to guide our decision on how to start schools. And I created an easy green, yellow, red approach. If data demonstrates the virus is under control, it's good. It's green, it gets 2 points. If the data demonstrates there is a concerning trend, we should monitor it closely and be prepared to react. Caution, yellow, 1 point. Data demonstrates significant community spread, is uncontrolled, red, 0 points. And so as I apply this matrix, these numbers to each of the 4 areas, I'm able then to create an approach to deciding whether we will be remote or in person. So for a sustained period of time, if we have less than 4 points, we'll be remote. We'll start remote if that's the case. If we have equal to or greater than 4 points for a sustained period of time, we'll be in person. We'll start in person. And so again, this is how I'm approaching making a decision that really is based on the data as I read that this is best for our community. And so I want to talk through the specific data points. And we will develop on our website a way that you can track this live with us and know each day how Arapahoe County is doing and how that relates to whether the Cherry Creek school districts are open in person or we're remote. So first, look at the molecular positivity rate. The yellow line is the 14-day average that we refer to. Down below, you can see the numbers on how I'm rating it. A 0 to 5, as I read in the guidance, is a green, that's good. A 5.1 to 9.9 is yellow or caution. We ought to be really thoughtful. And 10 plus is red. And you can see if you look back to April, the positivity rate in Arapahoe County was over 40%. This morning, when I pulled this data, it was 5.6%. And so that is yellow, caution, 1 point. The next data set are daily hospitalizations in Arapahoe County. So the same measures, stable is green, a sustained increase, yellow, and uncontrolled, red. You can see that since the end of May, Arapahoe County has not had any more than 5 hospitalizations in a single day. In fact, the last hospitalization they had was on July 25th, and most days it's well under 5. That is clearly stable and not changing. That's green, 2 points. The third data set, 14-day incident rate per 100,000. This excludes cases residing in congregate facilities. Again, green, stable, less than 50. Yellow, caution, 50 to 100. Greater than 100, it's red. Arapahoe County 14-day is 146.3. That is clearly in the red category and gets 0 points. And finally, the last data column I'll use, or data set I'll use, is not in that specific metrics to move from safer at home to protect our neighbors, but it's one that we all look at. And it's actually one that's affected on a daily basis because it rates and counts daily cases by county. So the data in front of you is Arapahoe County. And again, the measures, stable, sustained increase, and uncontrolled. You can see since July 4th weekend, we've had a sustained increase. Some days a little bit higher, some days a little bit lower, but overall it's on the increase. This is the most susceptible to daily change. So I labeled this a 1 with caution, primarily because the last 4 days have been lower. Now, I don't know what will happen after today, if that will continue to go up and become more uncontrolled, or will stay in yellow caution. So when I add up the points, there are 4 points. And so when I go back to the matrix and look at how we assign that, if it's less than 4, it's sustained. If it's equal to or greater for 4, sustained in person. So the example today, positivity rate is 1, hospitalizations 2, cases per 100,000, 0 points, cases 1 for a total of 4. So at this example, if the decision was made today, we would start school in person. So using that data, and the reason I wanted to present to you today is because I'm not making that decision today. That would be disingenuous. I'm sharing with you how I will make that decision today. And I will make that decision on August 5th and communicate it on August 6th. Because I don't know what's going to happen the next 7 days with the virus and the data that we are looking at. It could get worse, it could get better. But again, our decision-making approach is what's safe based on the data and the science. And so I don't know what's coming, as I said. And so that's why 7 days from now, on August 5th, I will look at the evening update and then communicate to our community the morning of the 6th, whether we'll start school remotely or in person based on the data. The second way we'll use this, and this will live on for part of the year at least, or for most of the year, as long as COVID lives on, we'll use this chart. Because this can also help us determine that if we're in person, when to move remote, or if we're remote, when to move back to in person. And so we'll let the data, we'll let the virus drive that decision so that we know when it's safe to be together and when it's most safe to be apart. There's still some questions that have to be answered if we do start remotely, if that is the decision a week from now. And 3 I'll offer today. First, regarding high school athletics, if it is too dangerous to have in-person learning, how is it okay to have athletics? I don't know the answer to that. I can't get my head wrapped around that if it's too dangerous for kids to come to school, that we're okay with kids having athletics. Second, I want our community to know there will be some staff that don't receive paychecks if we're remote for an extended period of time. Now that's not on a day here or a week there. That's an extended remote time. And last, I think about our staff. Would it be most appropriate for them to continue to come to work, even if we are remote, assuming there's not a stay-at-home order, so they could have good internet access, all the materials, and continue to teach students if we are remote? So I don't have the answers to these questions tonight, but there are things we're going to have to answer very quickly, depending on the data and the decision we make in a week. Then I look forward. I think about modeling. What do we see coming? So I look to the Colorado School of Public Health. They released this report on July 16th. The link is on the bottom of the page here. So I use that to see what's coming and what we should prepare for. Really what this shows, it talks about ICU beds based on behavior of residents, behavior of people. Are we social distancing? Are we wearing masks? Are we doing everything we can do to ensure that we can stop the virus and open school? What it shows, that if people don't change their behavior from today, that they expect a spike September to October. If that happens, our metrics will also put us home and remote. This may be the only chance to see kids in school in August before this next spike hits. So I'm thoughtful of that as we move forward. But I'll use this page to really ask the parent community and our students that may be listening, do the right thing right now. Don't go hang out in big groups. Wear your mask. Stay away from those you don't know in those situations. Your behavior today in Arapahoe County, all of our behavior today in Arapahoe County, will determine whether school happens or not. So take every step you can to help us have school. Then I move to Cherry Creek. What are we doing? If the decision is to come back in person, what things have we put in place to ensure your students and our staff are all healthy and safe? On the left, you'll see these slides presented by CDPHE and CDE on July 22nd. And on the right, the specific strategies that Cherry Creek School District is implementing. Many of these you've already seen and heard of. They're available on our FAQs on our website, but I'll touch base on a few briefly. First, on healthy environments. There will not be visitors to classrooms or cafeterias this year. We will have symptom screening for staff and students. And we have contracted, and we'll offer COVID testing every 2 weeks for all staff, free, regardless of symptoms. And that will occur on a rotating schedule in schools so that we always have a look inside every single school every single day. That's good for both students and for staff because we have a better sense of what's occurring or not occurring. Scheduled hand washing breaks, ventilation, as it says in our FAQs, it's been up for a while now. We increased fresh air exchange by 25%, and we utilize MERV 13 filters. Those are much better filters, they're hospital grade filters that we have never had before, but we have purchased them and we're putting them in our schools. And we won't let kids use lockers. They'll have to carry their materials because we all know what kids do at lockers is they loiter. And so we need them to move along and get to classes and not hang out with one another at their locker. Physical distancing. We will physical distance to the greatest extent possible in alignment with CDPHE standards. And in middle schools and high schools, we will implement full physical distancing. We'll minimize interaction and overlapping of students. And as you know, we offered a 100% online school for students and parents to make that choice and for staff to apply for positions. If that's what you needed to do, if you desire to be fully remote, you can make that decision. Talking about face coverings. As we all know, there's a state mandate right now. In Cherry Creek Schools, we had made that decision prior to the state mandate, and we will continue to require masks regardless of a state mandate and regardless of individual actions of different cities or municipalities. Now, let me tell you, I hope you know this about our great teachers and staff. They will manage student mass in a developmentally appropriate manner. Of course, we will work with kindergartners, different than sixth graders, different than 18-year-old seniors. So know that about how our wonderful staff works with your kids. The last two bullets, though, I want you to pay particular attention to. The third bullet, there will be students that make a conscious choice to willfully not wear a mask. I can't allow that. So if they choose that, first, we'll provide them with the requirement and educate them and contact you, their parents. If they do it again, they'll receive an official warning and will contact you, their parents. On the third time, they will be transferred out of their school to 100% online. If students choose not to wear a mask, they are infringing on everybody else's right, and that is a requirement to come into our schools. Now, of course, again, we'll work with individuals that may have an underlying medical condition. We will work with individual students, but on the whole, understand we must take this seriously. The last bullet is the same thing, but for our staff. 9,000 staff in and out of schools on a daily basis. Those who make a conscious choice or willfully decide not to wear a mask will receive information, will receive a warning, and then will be placed on unpaid leave. We must take this seriously, and in Cherry Creek we will. Class sizes and cohorting in Cherry Creek, different by level. It will either be by class, grade, group, or school. And then again, we offered the 100% online opportunity for anybody who wants to be remote. And we'll limit physical interaction through limited passing periods by keeping students away from their lockers and moving along. So specific planning by school level. What does it look like? And there are some changes that we have made. First, again, we've been working since April to develop the most meaningful, thoughtful plans that we could. We received guidance last week that updated what we needed to do. We immediately began working with our teachers and classified staff to ensure our plans aligned to the new guidance provided by CDE and CDPHE. We worked on that nonstop from the 24th to the 28th. And then today, I'm sharing with you the updated plans to align to safe school strategies. I want to thank our teachers. I want to thank them for supporting the multiple comprehensive approach to restarting school. They have been supportive of getting kids back to class, and I appreciate that. So when you hear in other organizations that unions are stopping this, our union's not stopping us. They're asking us to be extremely thoughtful as we work forward to ensure that we have all of the safety requirements in place to ensure that your kids are safe along with them. And so I appreciate them, and that's the Cherry Creek difference. I want to share with you that we've provided preparation time and opportunity to our teachers to be ready for your kids. Every teacher and administrator was provided with 5 additional CARES funding planning days. That's that federal CARES funding that we received. We passed that on to our teachers and administrators. They all received additional 5 days of pay to use at their discretion to help prepare for both in-person and remote instruction. And then teachers also have an additional 4 days pre-scheduled planning prior to the first day of school. And so there's ample time to prepare for both in-person and remote as we move forward. And again, that's why I'm okay with making the decision next week based on the data. We've also provided the opportunity. So we have created for all of our staff, and we'll also have information for you on how to access online tools and modules to help support developing skills and strategies in support of remote learning. Because I believe there will be times this year, maybe extended times this year, when we will be remote. One of the conversations we had with our teachers, which I greatly appreciate, because I think this is a wonderful approach for everybody, is a phase-in week. So if we start remote, August 17th to the 21st will be a phase-in week. The rationale for this is it will provide time for students new to a school the opportunity to spend time at the school learning the routines and practices and the new COVID routines. So when you think of a 6th grader, first day ever in middle school, a 9th grader, first day ever in the high school, or a kindergartner or 1st grader, first day ever in school. We want to give them an opportunity as a smaller group to learn the school without all the other students there, to learn the routines and to learn the COVID routines with their teachers. We also want to provide opportunities for all students to be at school with a limited total attendance to learn and practice new routines and practice prior to a full start. We provide opportunities for staff and students to meet and begin developing relationships, prior to that first day. And it also provides our teachers with some additional planning days to prepare for your students. So I really appreciate our teachers bringing this. I fully support this because this is best for students and for staff. So what does this look like? As an example schedule for an elementary school, it may be that on Monday, August 17th, 5th graders come to school. On Tuesday, 4th graders. On Wednesday, 3rd, Thursday, 2nd, and on Friday, kindergartners and 1st graders come. So again, that day, it's just them in the building. They get to figure it out. They get to work with their teacher and learn all those new routines. So we'll have similar patterns for our middle schools and high schools, and the specific schedules will be developed and sent to you by your school. But again, I think that's a great approach for all of us as we go into this new year. So we haven't been in school for 5 months, and school in the world is different now. So then going into some of the specific models. 5A, our online option. So as of last week, we had a total of 9,421 students registered for 100% online. Nearly 4,000 elementary students, 2,300 middle schoolers, nearly 3,000 high schoolers across the district. This allows students and parents to make the decision to not be in person. Again, if you want to be remote, sign up for online. Teachers can also apply to teach online. And it offers also increased spacing and physical distancing opportunities at our other schools. As we pull these students out, we're able to rebalance and reallocate students to other classes, lowering class size across the district. Now, they don't come out evenly and equally in every school and every grade level, but to a great extent, this will help us spread students out in the school. Online students and teachers, if you're listening, everything I've said up until now and everything I say after this really doesn't apply to you because you're 100% online. And so you will have a different specific learning system and platform that your teachers will reach out to you and work with you on. Moving into elementary school, and what will elementary school look like in the Cherry Creek School District? Remember back to the health guidance and what that specifically looked like and offered. Talks about students in grades K through 5 do not need to meet 6 foot of social distancing, and normal class sizes may occur. So the model for elementary school is 5 days per week, normal school schedule. As I just mentioned, when we move the other students out to online, we might have some smaller class sizes. We will most strictly cohort by class at the elementary level. So students will be with their primary teacher significant amount of the time throughout the day. And the guidance you see talks about the number of teachers interacting with that cohort, not the number of kids in the cohort. So we will limit below 4 the number of teachers that can interact with the class daily. We'll also limit physical interaction, social distancing to the greatest extent possible, hand washing scheduled, social distance for lunch in the cafeteria with the option to move to an extended spaces such as the gym, the cafeteria, and outside to eat. We want these cohorts to be able to separate themselves to the greatest extent possible through that time as well, because that's when they'll have their masks off. I also am encouraging for our staff, use outdoor instruction, find a tree, the one you like, go get it, instruct there, teach there, work with your kids there, be outside as long as we can be in Colorado in this wonderful weather. And then activities will occur remotely. I can tell you that the elementary model, along with the multiple overlapping safety strategies, adheres to 100% of health department guidance for elementary schools. We have some current practice and evidence. The Cherry Creek Extended Child Care Services team has been operating throughout July in our elementary schools. It's wonderful to see kids in schools, and they have had no difficulty with masks. I think it's actually easier for them than it is for a lot of us. Hygiene routines have been adopted by both students and staff, and we've had no infections. So this is a great program that we've offered this summer, and it's working well, and our current practice and evidence aligns with the CDPHE guidance. Moving then to middle school. Middle school will look different. As we reflected on the new guidance or the updated guidance from CDPHE, we wanted to ensure that we had the greatest physical distancing possible in our middle schools. The model we'll implement is what we talked about earlier in the summer, what we sent out to you that our plan was. We then updated it, but based on the new guidance, I will tell you, I have absolutely no problem going back to this schedule. The blended schedule, 2 days in person at school per week and 3 days at home. And the reason why is because it allows us to provide physical distancing in our classrooms and in our schools and protect our teachers and protect your students. And that's why I have no problem going back to where we were in June. We will cohort students by either Group A or Group B, and only 50% of the students will come to school on a daily basis. We'll limit interaction. Greatest amount of social distancing can occur now. We'll social distance in lunch, again, expanding spaces into gyms or outside. As you know, activities after school will occur remotely, and athletics have been canceled. So if you're a middle school parent and you're used to having that time after school where your student can stay and receive tutoring or help, they have to get on the bus and go home immediately after school. But we will work with our teachers to develop opportunities for virtual support and virtual tutoring throughout the year. Again, I encourage outdoor instruction, and teachers are required to plan for both in-person and self-directed. And so that's why they have Monday. One, to do some virtual work with students if necessary, but I'm asking these teachers to teach effectively, to plan effectively and meaningfully for kids that are at home being self-directed and kids in school in front of them. And so they're doing double the work, and they deserve that aid. So again, office hours and additional help will be managed virtually. So here I can share with you with confidence the middle school model, along with the multiple overlapping safety strategies, adheres to 100% of health department guidance for middle schools. Here's what that model may look like. Students will be split into A or B cohorts based on their last name. We will do our best to line up with feeder high schools so that families will be home on the same days. It may not be perfect at first, so know that, but your school will work with you to make sure that siblings can be home together. If you look at the bottom, you can see a chart that which days Group A will be at school, Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and B group will be at schools Thursday and Friday. And again, I want to reiterate, the purpose for this is so that we can physically distance kids, because the data and the research show that as kids get older, they need to be further apart because they spread the virus at a greater rate. That's why this is critical to protect our teachers and to protect your kids. So then high school. We will make exactly the same change in our high schools for exactly the same reason. So high schools would be a blended schedule, 2 days in person at school and 3 days at home self-directed. This allows 50% of the students to come on a daily basis, again, allowing us to physically distance our classrooms and physically distance our buildings. That is significant in the data and the research, and we will adhere to it. Cohorting by A or B, limited physical interaction, social distancing. At lunch, students can leave campus. We encourage them. I encourage you to encourage them to make good decisions when they do that. And they have to leave because over 70 years, we never built our facilities to hold all our kids at school for lunch. And so they need to leave. They'll also be on campus for off hours. And we'll work with them to make good decisions about how they interact during those off hours. Office hours for adults, for teachers, will be in person. And I'm encouraging our teachers to find an outdoor place where their kids can meet them, or to ensure that if they're in their office or in a hallway that they do have that physical distancing. Athletics are considered a separate cohort if they occur, and outdoor instruction time is encouraged, as I said. Teachers, again, are required to plan for both in-person students and self-directed students, and that's why that additional planning time is necessary. So I can tell you with confidence, the high school model, along with the multiple overlapping safety strategies, adheres to 100% of health department guidance for high schools. Again, same approach, split up the students the same way, same days at school. I would imagine if you're an A day, your last name starts with A through M, and you can kind of look at it and see what days you'll be coming to school and what days you'll be at home. And again, please know, we'll work between middle schools and high schools to ensure that siblings have common days or on common groups. Now I know we've just changed the plan, and I know as we changed from first time from blended to a different plan and asked you to sign up for remote, that there were a lot of questions. And so I think it's appropriate that we open back up the window. I know that some of you will want to come back because we're now hybrid or blended again, and some of you may want to move to 100% online. And so we're going to open that window starting tonight through August 3rd. And the process to change, if you signed up for 100% online and you want to come back now, contact your home school's main office. They will help you through the process. If you're currently in person and want to move to online, contact your home school's main office and they'll help you with that. And again, if you want to be remote, if that's what you need and are asking for, please do sign up for 100% online. But I believe this is fair for us to do, given we've updated and changed our plan, and you now have made decisions on outdated information. So as we move along, if we start or move to remote learning, however we get there, what it will look like. The different ways we could move to remote by a classroom, by a grade level, by a school, or the district. We could start remote, we could start in person, we could move to remote, we could return to in person. We will have to be flexible and fluid this school year as we move through it and do the best we can for our students. So what does it look like? Hopefully you've seen this, it's on our FAQs on our website. We were setting up that if we are remote, there will be up to 4 hours a day of synchronous learning where our students will be expected to engage. We will take attendance and ensure they're there, and grades will be given. Regardless of their level, they are expected to engage. This is different than last spring. This is how we must move forward to ensure that we can provide the best education possible, even if we are remote. And one of the big pieces of feedback we received last year is that we did not have consistency in our learning management systems. And so we have, as a system, determined that we will all use Schoology. And so that is the one platform that you'll receive information to and from your teachers. Technology tools with the learning management system include Seesaw at the younger ages, Google Suites, and Microsoft Teams. Teaching will be done by your student's regular teacher if we move this way, but again, it will be synchronous and kids will be held accountable for learning. Transitioning to remote learning. And this is whether for a temporary move, and I call temporary 14 days. If we have to move for 2 to 5 days for some reason, directed by Tri-County or our own decision, we're not going to stand up remote learning. It has to be at least a 14-day move to remote learning or longer to actually stand it up. I will give teachers 2 days, work days, to transition from in-person to remote. So for example, you all learn on a Monday. We're going remote at a school or as a district. Teachers will have then Tuesday and Wednesday to set up their remote plan, and school will start again on Thursday. Remote learning will be provided by the student's assigned classroom teacher and follow their predetermined syllabus. And the last piece here is important because we have different cohorts of students. As I said, athletics is its own cohort. So for as an example, if a student had to be quarantined because somebody on their athletic team tested positive or was infected, that athletic team would have to cohort. But if it's not the student in my class, then my class does not have to quarantine. And so that student will be out for up to 14 days. I do not expect that teacher to synchronously teach that child, that athlete, while they're teaching a full load of kids in front of them. Now, of course, our teachers will put information in Schoology and continue to work with individual students and families, but I do not expect them to be synchronous with students that are quarantined due to their participation in a separate cohort while there's also teaching in person. Special populations. Now we have provided and have updated on our website tonight special populations information, including English language learners, gifted and talented students, and students with an IEP. So you can see the website link there. We have specific information for those families and for those students where they can go and find some of that specific answers that I know you need and are wanting. And I want to thank our special populations team for the work they put in to that plan and to that effort. So let's go back to the health guidance. And how does everything I've just shared with you align? Go back to the number of recommendations. First, the Metro Denver Partnership for Health, then CDPHE and CDE. In Cherry Creek, we meet or exceed every requirement, every health guidance requirement that exists. Go one step further. The Colorado Education Association on July 21st posted this letter, and I'll read it. In part, the Colorado Education Association believes that in-person learning is essential for students and educators and looks forward to returning to school in person this fall, as long as districts ensure that the safety and health of all stakeholders are in place. To ensure our schools are safe to learn this fall, the following expectations must be met. 1, employees' voice and safety must drive decision-making through honoring bargaining rights or a vote. In Cherry Creek, we've been collaborating with our teachers since April. We negotiated responses to the opening requirements and an agreement to start. Number 2, safety protection, protocols, and precautions must be provided by our school districts for all students and staff. All health department guidance, as I just showed you, has been met or exceeded in the Cherry Creek School District. 3rd, Our community must be provided with transparency and data that has driven the decision-making process. We have provided that, a data-driven decision-making matrix that's transparent and based on science and fact. And fourth, equity for students, staff, and families must also always be provided, no matter where the learning is occurring. And we have in Cherry Creek, as an example, purchased technology for all students to qualify for free and reduced lunch. So we meet all the requirements put forth by the health guidance, the health departments, and the Colorado Education Association to start school in person if the metrics determine it. So some concluding thoughts. First, decision for in-person versus remote. I will make that based on the data next Wednesday night. It's an objective decision-making process. It's grounded in science, is transparent, and clearly identified decision-making process. The health department recommendations for in-person learning. If the data determines that we start school in person, all recommendations have been met or exceeded throughout our district. And third, collaboration with staff. Our Teachers Association is fantastic. Our teachers are fantastic. All of our employees are fantastic. But we have worked to meet all in-person health department guidance and endorse a return to school. And teachers, along with students, have the option to apply for 100% online. So finally, where does that leave us? On August 5th, the final determination is made. I'll communicate on August 6th. If it's in person, school will start in a phase-in week, August 17th through the 21st. And full-time school will start August 24th. If it's determined to be remote, full-time school will begin on August 17th. So either way, students get ready. Summer's coming to an end, school's gonna start. And we'll let the data determine the best way to do it. So I want to thank you. I appreciate you joining me tonight. Hopefully this gives you some information as to how we're going to make decisions and why we're going to make decisions in the way that we are. My hope is that you understood why and how I got there. And the last thing I want you to know is the great care and love that I have for this community. I love this organization. I love the staff and students that we have here. I will do everything possible to protect everybody in this organization to come back safely, and only if it's safe, and only if the data tells us it's safe. But our job is to educate kids, and I take that seriously. That's an important task. We are an essential organization. We are essential to this community and to the future of this country. And so we will work to get back. We'll work to get back to the greatest extent possible. But again, if the data tells us it's safe. If not, we'll be remote until the data tells us we're safe. So again, thank you for joining me tonight. I appreciate the time you're willing to give me. We again will post this online if you want to review it or look at any of the specific slides. Thank you. I'll see you in school.